Hello and welcome to the AVNI Interviews. We are your hosts, Eric Bork and Mikey Taylor.
What up?
We're co-founders in AVNI, an intelligence brand for influencers and entrepreneurs. Here we interview people who have valuable insight to help you do the work you want and the lifestyle that you love. You can learn more about us on avniintelligence.com or follow us on social at AVNI Intelligence. Today's guest, we have the fourth person on Nike to get 10 shoes, owner of a skateboard, multi-million-dollar skateboard brand, the P-Rod.
What up?
There he
is.
How we doing?
There he is.
So today we're gonna take a little bit different of approach in this interview, Paul. There's a lot of interviews referring to all of your accomplishments. Today, we want to talk about you as an entrepreneur.
All right, let's do it.
And I was actually really impressed in our pre-interview.
Thanks, Bork.
So Mikey, light him up. Light him up. Let's hear what this kid has.
Yeah.
Is this your first podcast not based on skateboarding?
No, I did long story short with drama.
Oh, nice.
I like those.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're cool. So let's take everyone back to before I met you.
Okay.
When you started your first company.
Yeah. What you talking about? Revelation skateboards or Mirage skateboards?
Holy
Let's
crap.
talk about both, but
I
let's
didn't
start
even
with
know there was
Revelation.
Revelation.
It gets
yeah.
good here.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
tell us about Revelation.
When I met you, it was Mirage.
Yeah. Mirage was the actual manifestation of a real company. Revelation was like an imaginary company. Like, I got a shop deck from Valley Skate and Surf.
How old are you at this point?
12, and I sanded off the graphic, and I wrote my own little graphic and markers, Revelation Skateboard. That was my little dream for my little company, Revelation. And I was just like filming. My Uncle Dave let me use his like, what were those cameras? High 8 camera?
Yeah.
His little high 8 camera to go out film me and my friend Sammy. And we just would film it in our minds. We were filming for the Revelation skateboard video. We would just go out, film each other, and do the OG like editing, one VCR to the other, pause, play, pause, play, pause, play.
Yeah.
And so that was my first like in my mind company that like I was already thinking like that from the get go, you know. But Mirage ended up being the actual brand that actually physically we made product. T-shirts, boards, and actually sold a couple boards too.
So with Revelation, did you sell them?
No. It was just my own board. The shop boards that I would get at Valley Skate and Surf, they were called Profire. That was their brand, their shop brand. And I just took sandpaper and sanded off the logo. Like, so it took forever. Now
There were no actual sales with Revelation.
No. It was just
okay.
I took the graphic off. I made my little logo and my little writing, my type of font I made. And that was like me and my boy Sammy. That was our brand in our mind.
Nice.
Yeah.
So then who helped you set up Revelation? I mean, did you guys know what to do?
No, you mean Mirage?
Oh shit, Mirage.
Mirage, yeah.
Yeah, Mirage. Uncle Dave. Uncle Dave was my first funder, my first investor.
So like you guys set up an LLC? You guys did a trade?
Nah. Well, I think we probably did the trademark in LLC, but at that time, I don't even know. I wonder if Uncle Dave did,
Like,
because
what can
now I
you do?
can call
Can
him
you do
now and
this
be like,
at
do we
12?
still own that name? Let's bring
It's a
that
good
back.
name.
Yeah, do we still own that? So Uncle Dave started this, and by this time
And
I'm
Uncle Dave
13,
is your
maybe
uncle?
14. He's my uncle, my
Okay.
mom's brother.
Okay.
And he grew up, he lived with us a lot during my childhood. And he was like kind of like my father figure in the house. He'd take me everywhere. He would take me on my castle contests, pay for the hotels, take me skating wherever I wanted. Like let me borrow his camcorder. He was the best. So at this point, I forget how it got sparked off, but I'd probably been talking about it, and he was like, "Let's do it." So he found. I think it was called ABC Wood.
Yeah,
Yep.
ABC
that.
board.
Yeah.
We went. They pressed up our first. I think it was 200 boards.
Damn.
Maybe it was
Nice.
100. Our first graphic.
And
was
you were
100
14
board.
when you were doing
It was
this?
a minimum. Yeah, I was 13 or 14. I was in that zone. It's a little foggy, but we made our first graphics. Put my first like little team together, like Dan Abadi, another friend of mine, Chris Mastes, Eric. Why am I not thinking of his name? Eric Dawes. I think Eric Dawes was on the team, and Mike Barker. And that was our first little team. Like they were my flow guys. I would give them a couple boards a month, a couple shirts, and
so Uncle Dave funded this.
Uncle Dave funded it. He probably, I don't know, probably spent 5-6 G's on that first batch. Like me not having any idea what money like meant. Yeah, like as far as like big numbers. Now thinking back, he probably spent a good chunk of money on that.
And did you guys sell them?
Yeah, so what we did is Uncle Dave would drive me to any skate shop in the valley, and I would just walk in like, hi, like, how you doing? Like, I just want to see if you guys are interested in my skateboards, like, boom, boom, boom.
And at this point, no one knew who you were.
No idea. And,
so there are people out there who remember young P-Rod walking in with his own skateboards at 14.
This is around the time I met him.
Okay.
Yeah, this is
when I met him, he was riding.
Yeah, just about that time, yeah. And so 2 skate shops ended up actually taking some of my boards on consignment, and it was called, I want to say it was called, I feel so bad. The guy's name was Brandon. It was on Ventura Boulevard and Reseda. I forget what the shop was called. I took it in there, and he was like, yeah, man, y'all take 5 of them on consignment? And I had no idea what consignment even was. Yeah, sure. So he took them. I got a call a couple weeks later saying he had sold them. Here you go. Come pick up your check.
Really?
Cool. And then 118,
Nice.
my skate shop that I rode for by this time, took, I think, 5 or so on consignment. Sold a few of them. And then the rest I would just sell to kids who would come up to me and be like, yeah, can I buy a board? And I'd give them a good price. And just slang them like...
And that was your introduction.
That was my little, like, first attempt at business.
Young entrepreneur.
And that's something you wanted to do?
Yeah.
So how was it then? Because what was your first sponsor after that? DNA?
DNA.
So was it hard for you to step away from your brand?
Here's the funny thing. Here's the funny story I told Bork is so this is summer 1999. And I get word from DNA Skateboards because Steve Vanasco, some people may know him as Van Styles, was riding for a company called Status, who was the sister brand of DNA, blah, blah, blah.
Jim Bates?
Yeah. Jim Bates. That's right.
That's right.
And so I gave Steve my video because he was going down to San Diego to what is now Syndrome Distribution. And he brought it down, and boom, and they're like, we want him on DNA right now. I got the call from Jason Maxwell. They wanted me to come down, gave me a box of boards. And this is while I have Mirage going. And I'm getting like a real sponsor. Like, they're like, yeah, we want to get you an ad in the magazine, get you in the video, blah, blah, blah. And I call Uncle Dave. He's like, hey, Uncle Dave, guess what? I got sponsored. I was so excited, like understanding that he just spent thousands of dollars on these boards and, whatever. And he's like, what are you doing? I thought we were doing
the
this.
Contract's already
and
signed.
I was like, well, it's a real company. They're gonna actually sponsor me and like put me in a real video and like send me to trips. And so, he was a little bummed, but he obviously knew, like, that's the real deal. But we kept Mirage going for a little bit after that. We still had the team going. I just wasn't on the team.
Yeah.
I still had the team going. They were representing. So I don't exactly remember around how long. Probably by around the year 2000, beginning of 2000. Sometime during 2000 is when we just decided, like, once we ran out of our last batch of boards, we're like, all right, we're just.
Yeah.
Uncle Dave was like, I ain't spending money on that. So that was my first run at it.
God, I didn't even put 2 and 2 together when I met you. Like, I knew you were riding Mirage boards. I didn't even put it together that was like your thing.
That was my thing, man. You know what it is, man. No,
So you were,
He was a young
really
hustler.
ahead of the curve, man.
Yeah. So
it's just
fast
my
forward a
brain
little
works.
bit. You kind of stepped away from doing your own company for a while, and you rode for Girl Plan B. At that point, you weren't doing your own company, correct?
Well, Primitive was still around though.
Well, Primitive didn't come around until 2008. So when I was 23.
The first shop was only 2000. That was 2008. Oh, I thought it was before that.
So in the meantime, was it your deal with Nike, or I feel like you stepped away from owning your own brand for a little bit?
Yeah, until just 4 years ago.
So tell us about the Nike deal and how that came about. It is insanely significant if you think about how many football players and soccer players around the world there are that you have Michael Jordan and you have Kobe Bryant and LeBron James getting 10 signature shoes, and then you also get that signature shoe. How did that deal come about?
So this also happened. A lot happened through 118 Skate Shop, the shop I was riding for at the time. And one of my best friends, Nigel Alexander, who you all know, he was working at 118 Skate Shop. And at this time, we were living together. We were roommates. And this is back when I used to stay up super late, sleep in till noon. We would, we would just be out skating all night, sleep in. So typical day, sleeping in. Nigel calls me probably like 11, 12 during the day, and hello, and he's like, hey, dude, I got Robbie Jeffers was the rep for Nike at this point, and super nice dude, and he was at 118. He was the rep, showing him the line, doing his regular business there, and he told Nigel, because he knew we were roommates and close friends, hey, man, we really want to talk to Paul about getting on Nike. So Nigel called me like, hey, I got Robbie in here. He wants to talk to you about something about Nike.
And who do you ride for at this point?
At this point, I'm on S.
Okay.
On S, like skating.
S is like the sickest company at that point.
Best company at this point. My dream company.
Yeah.
Skating samples with shoes with my name on it. Like, it's happening. The dream is happening.
Explain how significant riding for S was at the time. You were the
Riding
first
for S at the time is what it is to basically ride for Nike now.
I think even more than that.
Maybe, yeah.
I
More.
think way
It
more
was like
impactful.
it was Costin,
I think
Arto,
it was like playing
Penny,
for the Bulls.
Bob
with like
Burnquist.
MJ and
It was
Yeah.
it was like, yeah.
There was
yeah,
something.
yeah.
There was something about it, and it's not at all to downplay Nike at all. It's
No,
just,
but there was something
No,
special
it was just
about riding
that
for
and-
S at that time, especially because when you became the first AM to ever be on S.
Yeah. By the way, we were on S at that time.
No, you got on first.
But you were
And then
on at
I
this
got-
time.
And then I got on right after, and him and I went on a trip to Germany.
Yeah, this is
right.
02.
We're on our first trip to Germany with like Tom Penny and Arto and Costin, and we're like fanning
You
out.
guys
we're
were
losing
I
our
remember
minds.
You guys
and
were
going
yeah.
nuts.
It was the coolest thing ever. So him, like, even like I remember watching from the outside, him stepping away from S to ride for Nike, and like, dude, we were tripping.
Yeah.
Because at that point, Nike
is he
wasn't. It wasn't. It wasn't what
Nike
it is
now.
now.
Yeah, no.
Nike was still like, kind of like not accepted at that point.
No, not at all. So I had got the call. So yeah, riding for S was huge. It was my dream. I'm skating samples. My shoe is scheduled to drop. Everything's going beautifully, and then I get this phone call that ends up setting my life on a whole different trajectory, a better trajectory than I even dreamt of up until that point, because I thought I was already living the best dream I could live, and it just got better. So I woke my ass up, drove down to 118, met Robbie. He says Sandy Bodecker wants to meet me, and Sandy Bodecker, for those who don't know, is responsible for creating Nike SB for what it is today. He came from soccer. He's OG Nike guy. Built up the soccer brand to some crazy billions of dollars, and then it was his task to like break into the skateboard world. So he took it serious, and he saw that Nike had tried in the past and failed, and he assessed what they did and took a different strategy. And so he said, Sandy Bodecker would love to meet you. Would you be willing to fly to Oregon and see what he has to say? And I was just, yeah, sure. And so that's how that went. Flew to Oregon, met with Sandy, took me on the tour of the campus. My fucking mind was blown, because up until this point, we would go down to Lake Forest, and we thought that the S warehouse, Soltech, was just huge. Like, oh my God, this humongous operation. Then you go to Nike, and it's a campus, like USC campus, like UCLA, like buildings after buildings and buildings, and like a campus. And
What are some of the things you saw out there? Like some specifics you remember when you were
they
that
took
young?
me. They took me to like their R&D building, where like at the time, like it was like just they showed me all these like crazy foam composites that they were working on. They have like literally like laboratories, like scientists creating different mixtures and experimenting for like sole cushioning of the sole, like what Lunar Lawn is now, or what all the different things they do. So I remember, I forget what the foam was, but like they literally poured it out like almost like a soft serve ice cream machine into a cup. It was a liquid, and then it went foamed up, and 5 seconds later, 30 seconds later, it was like solidified, but it was just squishy foam, and it was cool. And like I got to see all kinds of cool things like that. I saw them Like if they have a sample, want to make a sample of a shoe, they had 3D printers way back then. Just boom, bzz, press the button, boom, pops out. Here you go.
Was there any part of you that was like scared to quit S and ride for Nike?
Yes and no. I knew that S was my dream, but
More so, were you concerned about like the reaction you were going to get from the industry?
not at all.
No.
Not at all. I understood that I would have one, but I didn't worry about it. And luckily, thinking back on it now, I know how to verbalize it. At the time, I didn't know how to verbalize it. It was just an intuition, a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I've ever gone off is just an intuition. At the time, now looking back, I can say at the time, I just really believed in myself. I really believed that I could weather any storm because the bottom line was I still love skateboarding. That's all I do every day is skate all day, every day. It's all we did every day. And I knew that I was going to continue getting better, and keep pursuing myself and challenging myself to improve and get better. And I was like, in my mind, now looking back on it, that will weather any storm.
Yeah, I agree with that, but you did take a different approach as to what everyone else was doing at the time, right? You were kind of the first one to really like step out and go, I'm going to take kind of these bigger brands or this more mainstream approach to sponsors. And you kind of created your own lane in the sense of like, I don't give a shit what people think.
Right.
And I remember even when you rode for Nike, like I was tripping on it. Right. And like, I remember I read some skateboarder interview and you were like flat out, you're like, look, these companies don't care about me.
Yeah.
Like, I know the whole industry plays this whole game of loyalty, but they do not give a shit about me.
Yeah.
So why would I give a shit about them? And I remember reading that going, damn.
I was
I was like, you
That
were
was the hammer right there.
you were my friend.
I was
still
really
like, you're on
in-
some next level.
I was really into my Tupac phase at that time too. I was I was watching so many Tupac documentaries at that time, like studying him and like he
You're
had
just
me
like, I'm a
feeling some type
rider.
of weight puffing out my chest. But it's true though, and it's still true to this
No,
day.
it's true.
Man.
It's
Even
true.
more
It's
so
just,
now.
It's true. It's just like kind of like you were ahead of the curve on like doing your own brand at 12. You were ahead of the curve, especially like for me being in part of your generation, going through that together. You were way ahead of it from all of us.
And another thing you
Well,
took heat
I
for
would've
was
been
having an agent.
Yeah.
You had Cersei back then, and
Yeah.
everybody was like, I remember it being weird.
That's right.
Yeah.
From some of your friends that owned companies that had to talk to your agent, but you did it.
Yeah, man. You know what? Now looking back again, I realized why my mentality was like that. So you gotta look at how I grew up, right? I have a father who's a comedian. His job is to tell jokes, right? He makes millions of dollars doing this. I grew up on television sets, meeting famous actors, sports people, meeting all these people. Like, all I grew up was seeing somebody living their dream at the biggest possible way. So the head would thought like, well, I want to live a big dream. So I didn't come into skateboarding with this mentality of like, yo, gotta keep it small, gotta keep it cool. I just thought anything I did, like when I first started doing karate, I wanted to be Bruce Lee, Van Damme. I wanted to do karate movies, be one of these kind of guys, you know? And then I fell in love with playing guitar. I wanted to be Jimi Hendrix in Nirvana. I wanted to have the biggest band in the world and sell millions of fucking records and travel the world. That was, so when I got into skateboarding, I just saw, after I learned who the people I liked and the kind of skateboarding I wanted to be, I saw, okay, Eric Costin, Andrew Reynolds, Guy Mariano, Tom Penny. This is the group of guys I want to be in. These are the type of people I want to be. I want to reach this type of level. But I also have a mind of thinking big from already seeing my father do his thing. And so I was just like, I want to be a skateboarder, one of the greatest skateboarders. I want to be the best skateboarder I could possibly be and just do it big as I possibly can. So it was never a thing for me to like come in and fall into that, you know, keep it core, keep it this. Not that I'm against it. I'm not against it. It's just not the way my mind works. And if you spend your whole life trying to suppress a certain part of you, it's going to come out in negative ways. I never tried to suppress that. I always just was like, I love to skateboard, but I want to do big. I want to do
Love
big.
it.
That's all I wanted to do.
So one question, I don't want to skip this. In your dreams was getting your own shoe. Is that correct? So how did you pull that?
I was young enough and naive enough to do it. Like, so
So no skater had a pro shoe at this point for Nike.
for Nike, no. And I was already skating samples with my name on it from S. And I remember after we came back from Portland, I was with Cersei. She gave me the call. She was giving me the details of the deal, the proposal. And I was like, well, I didn't hear you say anything about a shoe. They're like, yeah, they don't really plan on, they're not doing any signature shoes. I was like, well, then then there's no deal right then and there. Like, that's a deal breaker for me. It's just, that's my
You
dream.
didn't even waver on it. It was just
That was
just
my
knew.
dream. Didn't even waver on it because I was already happy at S. I was already living my dream. So okay, this didn't happen. Plus, this is before what Nike is now. SB, the company that every kid wants to ride for. It was like people were like, fuck that, bro. Like, why would you even do that? Like, I didn't have a problem with them in that way. So, but I was already on the most coveted brand. Like, everybody wanted to be. So I was already there. And I had a shoe with my name on it scheduled to come out. And so and as a kid, that was my dream. I want to be a pro skateboarder, and pro skateboarders have names on the board and signature shoes. That completes the dream. And so when she said that they weren't doing it, I told her, well, just tell them thank you. It was really awesome. But my dream is to have a shoe. It's just my dream. And my dream won't feel complete unless I have one. And
So you said no.
so I said, I can't do it if there's no shoe. And so she went back, told him, she called me back, okay, they'll do it. And I was like, all right, let's get it. Let's do it. It was literally that. And it's crazy now to think about how,
It really is crazy to think
nothing
about.
it was
you
for me
big
to just
dog
say
Mikey.
You did.
But it wasn't even like a big dog to me. It was just like,
A 16-year-old kid, big dog Nike.
it was just like, well, I'm sorry.
Yes.
It's just, that's just what my dream is. I don't know what to say. Like, I'm about living my dream. So if this isn't going to lead me to my dream, then it's obviously not the path for me. So that's the way I was thinking at the time. And now that I'm older, I can articulate it. But again, I was just going with my gut.
Have you had 10 shoe parties?
Yes.
So there was a party for every shoe you've released.
Correct. Yes.
Were they fun?
Super fun.
Were they fun?
Some funner
Were
than
they
others.
fun?
Best question is an interview.
Holy smokes. That's
yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Some were
What was
fun.
10 special? I mean, how many
Yeah.
other athletes have 10?
Uh,
And who are they?
okay, there's
Jordan?
this guy named Michael Jordan.
LeBron?
Some dude named Kobe Bryant. Yeah.
Is it LeBron?
Is that his name? LeBron James?
I'm
That's
nailing
his name,
it.
right?
Who's
Yeah.
and fourth is you?
There's also Kevin Durant. Him and I
Oh.
went in at the same time. And then there's me,
Then there's,
the only guy under 6 foot.
of all the
The
football
only
players,
guy,
of all the soccer
not
players.
a basketball player. Yeah.
So you pulled it. That's a fascinating accomplishment.
It's a pretty fun. It's a good ego booster. I'm not gonna lie. Like it really strokes the ego when I sit there and put that in perspective. Like, wow, 5 people. There's 7 billion people on this planet.
Yeah.
The kid squeezed in there.
Nice, man. So let's talk about your dream as a 12 and 14-year-old was to own your own skateboard brand.
Well,
And
was it to own your own skateboard brand, or was your dream
no,
to
it's
be
to
a
be
pro
the biggest
skateboarder?
skateboarder, from what I understand.
Right.
Paul, you say. Well, I mean,
My dream was just to be the best skateboarder that I can be, and from the skateboarders that I knew and the older guys I knew who schooled me to the skate game, basically was like Costin and Reynolds. A Costin Reynolds and Tom Penny amalgamation is what I wanted to be, and be considered in their
on their level.
yeah, I guess.
And then where did this like entrepreneur or brand building or company owner, where did all this come to be?
I just liked it. And
Did
I
did
always
Jay-Z
knew,
have anything to do with this?
of course, of course.
I told the story about how we tried to do like a VC where we did a little like LLC and put money into it and try to like own brands out of that.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like that was from Jay-Z.
Yeah, for sure. Seriously,
To me,
he's my
Jay-Z is
biggest
like-
influence.
yeah.
He's my
Yeah.
biggest. Out of people who are alive, he's my numero uno hero. And really, most of it isn't even because of his music.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Don't get me wrong, I love his music. That's what brought the attention. That's what brought my attention to him. But then once I like learned about him and then just watched interviews and read books and anything I can find, just realized like I want to be like him when I grow up.
So he would be your biggest influencer then.
Yes, 100%.
It's-
Like 100. He's my biggest influence of people who are alive today.
Nice.
Yeah, because other than that, what would it be? Bruce Lee or something?
Bruce Lee,
Yeah.
Bruce Lee and Jay-Z. That's my combo. Of course, Jesus. He was awesome. Jesus is
That was a good.
Jesus is,
that's a good
he's my
combo.
number one always. But as far as human
People that have influenced
people,
you.
yeah, like
So you wanted to like, why did you want to own your own company? It had to be more than just like because Jay-Z did.
Well, at this time, this was before. What
was
you're
the
talking about Primitive, or you talking
Well,
about Mirage? I hadn't
Mirage
I
sounded
hadn't found
like you. Mirage sounded like you were just like, yeah, I want to do a
It
company.
just
but
was
like, it didn't really-
cool.
yeah.
At the time, it was just cool. It would be like, whoa, it'd be so nice to make my own graphics, design my own boards. Like, it'd be cool. It was not a thought of like I can make a ton of money. It was not a thought of any of that. It was just like I just wanted to be recognized by the skateboarding world.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait till like the older guys I hung up with like stopped looking at me like the little fucking Grom or
Yeah.
little guy
So
and
when
like
did-
respected me in skateboarding.
Sure.
That was big for me.
So then when did it switch? When did it turn into this like, I want to own a brand, I want to make money, I want to grow, I want
So that switched when I was about 23, when I finally my partner Andy, you guys know Andy.
Yep.
He's my partner in Primitive, and he was the one who originally was on me about trying to open up a sneaker store. He used to manage 118 skate shops, so he had come from the retail world. He was a big sneakerhead, and his dream was to own and operate his own sneaker shop. And when I got on Nike, he was like, "We should do this. I'm telling you, this is a great business, great business." And at the time when I first got on Nike, I was like 19. And I was like not thinking that way. I was just like, man, I just got in there. I don't know how to run a store. I don't know anything about investing. I don't know this stuff. It's scary. But by the time I was 23, that was like 4 years went by. And I started thinking like, okay, I need to think of a life beyond skateboarding. I can tell that, unfortunately, this can't last forever. And I don't want to adjust my lifestyle when this is done. So I got to think of ways to set that momentum up now so that when that transition happens, it's seamless. So that was my thinking. And so Andy stayed on me this whole time, 3-4 years, till I finally was like, okay, let's really look into seriously doing this. So I didn't necessarily want to do it at this time, want to do a brand, because it's not my passion. I'm not a creative guy. I'm not an art guy. I don't really know what looks good and layouts, and I don't have a vision for this or that. But he had the vision, and what I went with off my gut again is that he was on me for 3 to 4 years about this relentlessly. And I was like, well, dang, he's still asking about that. That means he must really want to do it. He must be serious. A lot of people are just like, hey, can you do this? And I go, nope. And they go, okay, I guess that didn't work. But he just was like on me. And it came to a realization, like, he really wants to do this. He really has a passion for this, like the way I feel about riding my skateboard.
Yeah.
So if he feels like if he feels like the way I feel about skateboarding, about opening up a store, then it has to be successful, because I know how I feel about skateboarding.
Yeah.
Like, that's an unquenchable fire.
Oh yeah. So we talk about this a lot when investing, that you invest in the person, right?
Yeah.
Because no matter how good the idea is, you have to believe that person is going to go out and achieve the vision that they're selling you. Right. You have to have this you have to believe in them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, dude.
So it finally dawned on me
and we always
after
talk about
3
our
to 4
gut,
years.
right?
Yeah.
Gut feeling.
You have to, especially because even more so at that time, I had no, I guess, education in business or finance or anything of this nature. So that's all I had was gut. That's all I had to go in it, and it had served me right up until this point, So that's when I finally was like, okay, let's do this. We approached Nike, and Nike was like, "Are you want to do this?"
And
All
do
right.
this you guys did a storefront.
A sneaker store, yeah.
Or a
That's what we
retail
wanted
store.
to do, like a dope sneaker store. We wanted like Ventura Boulevard to be like our Melrose or Fairfax,
Yeah.
for the Valley. And so we wanted to do it on Ventura. And so we went to Nike with this idea, and they're like, okay, well, this is really smart on Nike's behalf. All right, yeah, just make us a business plan, And I think that at that point, that would have been the roadblock that most people would have been like, ooh,
Not
I
pushed
guess
past.
not. Well, you're one of their guys with their shoes. How can they not give you a shoe? How can they not let you have a store, this and that, blah, blah, blah. But they were smart because they had a lot of accounts, especially at this time. They had to be very delicate how they maneuvered in the industry because people were still wishy-washy about them. and there was other accounts they had in the area that they didn't want to upset. So they, they really like, all right, well, they treated me just like how they would treat anybody else. And so we got the business plan made, brought it to them, and boom.
Did
and
you
they
and
were
Andy
like,
do the
all right,
business?
we'll give you the account.
Did you and Andy do the business plan?
Not personally, no. But
Had
what we
somebody do
did
it?
is Andy's dad owned this Harley Davidson, like I don't know, accessory store where it sold like rims, aftermarket products for like Harley riders and stuff, called Hog Pro. And his dad was the only real businessman we knew at the time, and so he put us onto his accountant, which is Mitch Bhatia, who is now CFO of Primitive.
Yeah.
And so Mitch did our first business plan for us, and that's the one we presented to Nike, and Nike approved, and we went and got the building. Just boom, 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 boom.
And did you fund the project? Did you guys take out loans?
I myself and we had another partner. I don't even want to mention this guy's name, but we had another partner at the time. So him and I put up the original money.
And where's Primitive at today, revenue-wise? What are you guys doing? Can you share that?
I don't know if I want to be too specific, but it's
Are you doing 8 figures?
Yeah.
So you're doing over 10 mil.
Yeah.
That's a long way from
That's a long way from a retail. So tell us about like the natural.
But like that sounds like a big number, but when you get more educated on business, as you know, it's like just because you hear revenue does not mean the same thing as profit by any means.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, for the audience, definitely. It's interesting
Well,
to see how far it's come from 14-year-old starting your own
for sure.
board company.
And I will say for a company inside the skate industry started by skaters, that's a big number in our space.
Number.
Yeah,
right?
I get stoked hearing about it, but yeah.
Yeah, but 10 million, like, gross income for
Well, he didn't
businesses.
say exactly, but he just said above, right?
Well, yeah, so let's just even call it 10 at low. That's different than like you just walking away with 10 mil for yourself.
Yeah, no, that doesn't mean
absolutely.
you're walking away with anything. It's
So
just
you guys do a
that's right.
storefront, start as
Yeah.
a shoe
Sneaker store.
then it turns
August
into a
something 2008.
and then it turns into a clothing company.
Yeah, and so the sneaker store's going really well at this point. At this point I'm really hands off, like little to no knowledge of what's really going on. Like the shop, I just know the shop's open, and people seem to be coming in, and it's going good. And we opened with our first little 3 to 5 graphic t-shirt graphics, a couple of different hat graphics, and slowly but surely our offering expanded from our primitive shirts, just the store shirts, shop clothing, and people just really started liking it. So the line expanded, and then other stores started asking like, hey, we'd like to be able to bring some of this stuff into our store. And then okay, and then so that opened our mind up into like seeing about other stores and turning it into a brand. And then it kind of took off from there, really, and expanded out. Next thing you know, like the storefront next to us became vacant, and we ended up renting out that just as inventory to hold all our clothing and shirts and everything. And once we got into Zoomies, it got to the point where we actually had to just get a separate warehouse and do it from the warehouse. And then it just kept growing and growing and growing and evolving from there.
How many employees do you guys have now?
Right now, the last number I remember hearing is 50, which is recent. We were at 60 at one point,
I remember.
which was way too much.
Yeah, I remember.
50 is still a lot, but for everything we have going on and the way we're trying to position ourselves, I think we're at the point where like we have a lot of room to grow revenue-wise without having to grow staff-wise.
Yeah. Nice. So why don't you touch on where the skateboards?
Yeah.
Because for those who don't know, Primitive was a storefront.
Mm-hmm.
Then it became a clothing brand,
Uh-huh.
and at this point, you're on Primitive and Plan B, which is a skateboard company.
Yeah.
And you decide to quit Plan B to start your own company.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah.
And I was with you when you
Yeah,
quit,
yeah,
so
yeah.
I remember all of this, but it wasn't originally going to be Primitive.
No. And actually, I think my idea that I had then would have still stood true, but
I
you
think
guys,
it would've
you
stood
guys
true for
all
sure,
talked me out of it. But
Wait, I didn't talk.
Do I know
yes,
this?
here's what I'll talk. Here's what I'll say.
Dude, that idea was gold.
Yeah, it literally.
Literally.
Literally, we sold the gold.
Why don't
boards.
you tell what did you do?
So my original plan was, at the time, when I was on Plan B, I love Plan B. Probably my most prime best years were on Plan B of like my best skateboarding were during the Plan B time. Great family, I love all those guys. So I get to a point where I realize like, there's a window, man. Like, if I don't capitalize on my window, I'm going to miss it. And, I look at Reynolds with Baker, how awesome that's done for him and how Baker, the longevity it's had. And I was like, I would thought, fortunately, I think I'm one of those guys that is able to start his own brand and, like, hold it, have a brand that and people would care about. And so, thankfully, about that. So I started, this really originally started from Barra.
I remember.
If we really go
remember.
back. Talking to Barra, I spent a lot of time with Barra during this time.
Explain the model. The model's so good.
So really, I got to a point where I realized social media is really popping at this point. My website, everything's going. Heath Brinkley is managing all my social media stuff. And so,
which is a whole nother story in
itself. We can go in so many directions, whichever direction you want to go.
Just so everybody knows, Heath Brinkley is one of our closest friends.
Yeah.
Heath Brinkley pulls me over to go to Etnies, that he's basically redoing the team at the time.
Yeah.
And he's kind of, running the show, and we all go and ride for this company because of Heath. And Heath pulls me out to the parking lot one night, and he goes, "Hey, man, I got to tell you something." And I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "I'm quitting Etnies." And I'm like, "What? Why?" "I'm going to go work for Paul." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" He's like, "Yeah, I got to do it, man." I'm like, "So what's going on with Etnies?" He's like, "It's over." I'm like, so then
the Jenga piece.
So then Heath goes to work for Paul. Paul now has devastated his 4th company at this point. How many companies have you put out because you quit or took somebody from?
Oh, man, I don't want to.
So,
I don't want to put out no negativity, man.
All right.
Paul quit on me once.
Paul hurts when he quits, man.
Oh,
When he quits something,
Yeah.
You went to Inca, which was a good thing.
Yeah, I remember that, dude. Okay, so what aspect of all this are we going?
I want to know,
now?
dude, to me, like, and me knowing your model, I want you
Oh
to
yeah,
explain it,
okay.
but that model.
Okay. So my plan was, I spent Barra, really, I can't take no credit away from him. Showed me the light on this, and I was thinking about it a lot, and it was like, bro, everything's in my own hands. Now that social media is here, like, it's an even playing field between the athletes and the companies. And so I decided that I wanted to just make my own signature boards. And the biggest argument is, well, what are you going to call it? I was like, I'm not going to call it anything. They're just going to be Paul Rodriguez Pro Model boards. And then you guys were all like, so it's just going to be Paul Rodriguez skateboards? No, it's just going to be...
I gave you...
It's just going to be boards, and they're just going to be a pro model. It's just going to be a graphic, and it's going to say my name like any other thing. It's not from a brand. It's just a Paul Rodriguez Pro Model. But then everybody's going to think it's so lame because it's Paul Rodriguez skateboard. Sounds dorky. I'm like, there's no name. It's just I'm releasing graphics with my name on it, like a signature board. That's it. And that was the whole argument.
But I gave you shit on that argument, not what it was.
No, not on that. But I just figured I wanted to, the original model was I just wanted to make my own graphics, however long, we had a lot of experimenting to do, but I was thinking every, 3 to 4 months, put out a new graphic, have them on my website, and sell them direct to consumer. And I really thought that would be, because for those of you who don't know, in the skateboard, we're in the hard goods business, there's very little margin.
I know that.
Yeah.
As you know that.
Mm-hmm.
Very little margin. Because skateboards have never raised with inflation.
Right, how much does it cost to make a skateboard?
To make a skateboard?
How much do we get it from Bareback for?
$12 to $13, depending on the graphic and the technicalness of the graphic.
It just went up.
It went up, okay.
It's closer to 15.
Okay,
That's
so
14
close to
change.
15, depending on your
Actually,
graphic
you might be
and all
getting a
that.
discount because you're doing so many boards.
But
and what do you sell it
but
to the
then
store for?
landed and then having to ship international, and you get
Yep.
started on that. There's no margin. And then you sell it to the store for, depending on the store, if it's a bigger store like a Zoomies or something, you get a discount. But you sell them, what, for $30-something, $34, $35.
The margins aren't great.
And but you cut the royalty to the rider and the shipping and everything involved with all that, the overhead. You're making, I don't know, $2 to $3 a board.
So you basically bought boards yourself at that point, $12 a board, and sold them through your social media
For 50
for 50.
direct.
How many boards did you make?
So, okay. So I had this idea, and I'm the kind of guy, like, I'm not a very good explainer. I can show you better than I can tell you. That's my feeling. So I was telling Heath, I had already quit Plan B at this point, and I'm just writing spray-painted boards, gold boards that are spray-painted. And I'm trying to figure out with Heath, like, what are we going to do? Are we going to do it this way? Are we going to start a company? How are we going to do it? And so it's been 3-4 months. I had no board on the market, no sponsor. I was like, dude, we got to put something out before the end of the year. This is like getting close to December. So Heath and I told Heath, like, I just want to do an experiment. I don't care. I don't care. I just want to try something because I have no problem trying and failing, because at least I know that, okay, try and fail, then then that's not the direction. So at least you have another direction. You know which direction to go in. So I decided, let's just print up 500 boards with this gold foil on it, sign a number each of them, drop them on my website, and see what happens. If that 500 boards, if we sell them in a month, we're laughing. It's great. We just made so much profit. Him and I can split the cash. And if we do this every 3 months, cool. We're killing it.
So what happened when you put the 500 up?
They sold it out in 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
2
flat.
minutes, 500 boards.
2 minutes.
$50 each.
Gone.
How much did you make?
Well,
How much did you
I
net?
think it was $25,000 gross.
What'd you net
So
off that?
$6,000 for the board. So like $19,000.
So you made $19,000 in 2 minutes. Why didn't you stay on that model?
So
$19,000 in 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
I bet you if you sold 500 in 2 minutes, I think you could have sold 2,000 in an hour. Right?
Yeah.
So
here's
because this is where the argument came. The name, we argued on that.
see, but I proved it. It was just a board with gold foil. No
the
name,
model-
no nothing.
The model is where I was like, dude, this is psycho. There's one.
It's the
person
same
in the
model that
industry-
the dudes down in Texas, independent music guys selling CDs out of the trunk of their car 15, 20 years ago were doing, killing it, making hundreds of thousands of dollars easily, just out of the trunk of their cars. Them and their team, they'd press up an album for $10, sell it for 20. They just made $10 an album. You sell 100,000, boom, you got $1 million. Cool.
So you make $19,000 in 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
What causes you to change?
So around this time, that's when Andy called me and was like, hey, dude, like, you got Primitive here, you got your brand, but you're not really, like, a part of it because I ride for Nike and Nike Apparel. He's like, I know that you're thinking about doing something. I know you quit Plan B. I think this is before I actually did the 500 on the website. And he was just like, think about maybe doing something here at Primitive, doing with Primitive. This is like, you have a brand here. You have an investment here. Like, it would really benefit this. I was like, all right, like, And I was like, but I kind of like this model. It's easy money. But, you can't always just go with easy money. So it came down to, after I really thought about it, is like, this model ends when I end.
Yeah, that's true.
So when I end, no more boards. When Paul Rodriguez, the skateboarder, has no more real grasp with the consumer or the fans or whatever, when my moment in the sun isn't as bright, it's done.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So
That's true. It's a good point.
Yeah.
So then I thought about like Reynolds with Baker. And I was like, man, if we do it right, if you run a company right and you build a good brand, this can last a lot longer than me. So my connection into this thing I love and put my whole life into can last a lot longer than me physically.
Yeah.
So it would be kind of weird, dude, to just not have anything to do with skateboarding, as you know, because you're in it now.
Yeah,
so
I feel the same way.
like, it would be weird to have dedicated everything to this and then all of a sudden one day just, oh, you're not a pro skateboarder anymore. Okay, like, bye. Nothing to do with you.
Yeah. I have Sovereign for that same reason.
Yeah. So like I still want to be a part of it. And, by doing that, you have a brand that carries on the legacy. And then this is a whole aspect that I had never thought of to this point, but you can now be involved in helping another kid's dream come true, turning people pro, finding new talent, grooming new people, have a hand in guiding the future generation of skateboarding. And that felt good to me. That felt exciting to me. And that felt like, yeah, that'd be nice to like continuously contribute to skateboarding beyond just riding my skateboard. So that's really what won me over, and the fact that, we had Primitive going over here, but really I can't really do anything with it. I can't help it.
Yeah.
But now if we do Primitive skateboards, now I can help it all day long. So for those two reasons really made me think, okay, let me do this. But I'm surprised nobody, I know Cole did it one time with selling 500 boards, but I'm surprised people didn't just start doing it.
It's because you are we don't have it like you.
But people can do it.
Yeah, but it doesn't work. Even Cole, it didn't work like yours did.
But it didn't have to work like mine, but it's still, even if it takes a month, 2 months, you come out with a profit of 19 grand. Who's making 19 grand from their board sponsor in even 2 months, in even 3 or 4 months?
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
You know what I mean? So if it took you 3 months to sell 500 boards and you made 19 grand over that 3 months, these dudes ain't making 6 grand a month at most of their sponsors.
No, I agree. For sure. I think there's the public perception, though, of like kids think we're so larger than life and we sell thousands of boards a month, and then they see me posting every single day, still have my 500, buy now. After a month of it, you look desperate, right? So it's like,
yeah,
there's a part of it that I think could hurt your brand if kids think you're so big and then you're struggling to push 500 boards in 3 months, even though financially it's there from like a brand perspective.
But here's a simple answer, and now I might be outing the answer by announcing it, but that's why you don't tell them how many you have. You just say, hey, I got this graphic out now. Buy it at my website.
Yeah.
And then you could even bullshit. You could even be like, even if say you only printed 500 up, but you didn't tell nobody. You just said, I have this graphic. Get it at my website. Get it while you can.
No, I hear you, but like,
even if a month later you've only sold 100 and you still have 400, they don't need to know that. You just be like, due to overwhelming demand, we have now new stock. Come get them.
Yeah, I hear.
And like there's so many ways you can finesse that.
Paul should build sales funnels.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. I just don't think you have that much life to sell one product on social media anymore. Right, a month to push one
right
thing.
Now, maybe but
maybe back then.
But that's just like that's up to the person and getting creative. You got to get creative, and when you're in the fire, you got to figure it out on your toes.
How many people in skateboarding are going to do that?
Let me take a quick break. Let's thank Ryan Nadeau and Tommy Paz for helping us out behind the scenes here. And also, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe on iTunes. You can listen to the podcast on audio on the go. And also, if you like what you're seeing, reviews are greatly appreciated. So, Paul, I have a question for you. In our pre-interview, we talked a lot about repetition and you training. And I think there's some valuable lessons for everyone, influencers, entrepreneurs, because it was kind of fascinating to hear. So tell us about the loading dock. As you were a young kid,
you can only be talking about Albertsons.
Of course, it's famous.
Yeah, that's my
So what happened there?
That place, probably more than any other single location, that and my backyard, groomed the skateboarder I am today.
And what would happen on a daily basis at the loading dock?
You would see my little ass jumping down that loading dock every day till the cows come home. Like, get home from school, lie to my mom that I did my homework. Okay, I'm going to Albertsons, and skate until it's dark or later, and then come home when I was done and do the same thing every day.
So what I remember...
Should we wait for that?
No, it's fine.
So what I remember when I met Paul is basically we would all go just skate, right?
Yep.
And we'd kind of skate his backyard, and everybody'd just kind of be skating. And Paul had this very structured routine that he did every single day. He'd wake up in the morning, put weights on his feet,
Oh, I did do that before school.
Right?
I would do that
skate
before
for like
school.
an hour
Ankle weights.
before school with ankle weights on so they could jump higher, right? And then when we'd skate, it would be like I'd land a trick and be like, oh, I did it. Great. Paul would land a trick and do it again and again and again. And there was such this focus and like repetition to become the best at such a young age, right? And I remember like not even like truly understanding it back then that like, you know, I was 16, 17?
Well, when I first met you, I was about 14.
So I was 16. I'm 16 just like trying to skate, and he's like already so focused to the point of I will be the best skateboarder. And it was so like I didn't truly understand it then, but you could recognize it, especially now going, what is this? You know, and it's so that to me, like if you look at your model of success, right, whether it's skating, like I know like acting is a big push for you, you really kind of follow this model of I'm going to do it over and over and over until it's nothing anymore.
You told me on the pre-interview that you did 100 kickflips in a row.
Yeah.
Off the loading dock.
No, that one was at Parkman Junior High off the 6th stair.
So what are some other
Row, yeah.
repetitions that you would do at the loading dock? Because, and here's why it's
trick,
fascinating.
even to this day, I mean, if I learn, especially if it's a new trick and I'm just learning it, I will do it over and over and over until the fucking cows come home, till it's just programmed and I don't have to think. Because I've found out it's a process, right? First, the trick starts in your brain, and I will do it over and over and over and over until it goes from my brain into my body, and now it's in my body and not in my brain. And once it's not in my brain anymore, then I got it locked. I don't even have to think about it, you know? Like, and that's what I would imagine like Floyd Mayweather is with boxing. Like, he didn't have to think about why is he so fast even at 40 years old and he has reflexes, he can dodge the punches. It's not because he has lightning speed reflexes. I mean, he's developed those as well, but it's because he's done this so many times that he doesn't even understand, like, the smallest flinch of your shoulder, he already knows, oh, left hook coming over here, uppercut coming here, to the point where he doesn't even have to think that out in his mind. His body just feels it, and boom. He already knows the attack that comes with that movement. Oh, his shoulder moved this way. That means I need to do this. And, like, it happens so you cut down so much time by not thinking anymore. And it just happens now. So I don't know if I remember actually articulate. I didn't discover that or realize that until older, of course. But it wasn't I must be the best and destroy skateboarding. Like, it wasn't like that. I mean, of course I wanted to be my best. I wanted to be revered as the best. But it was just, I love it. When I learn a new trick, it feels so good. I just want to keep feeling that feeling over and over again.
That's true, but dude, I remember even when we were kids, you had a different drive to where like for me, I want to get sponsored so that I didn't have to work, right? Mm-hmm. For you, it was like at a young age, I want to be the best. Yeah. Right? It was just a different, you had a different outlook on what we were going out to accomplish.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm very blessed that God gave me that. I don't know what it is. I do attribute it a lot to my dad and seeing him do so much with his life and become successful in his world, because that's the real example I had is somebody right there just living life in a big way. And so that's all I knew, you know. So in my mind, everything I did, like I told you, if I started karate class, already in my mind, I'm making movies and I'm going to be Bruce Lee or Van Damme. I picked up the guitar. I have one guitar lesson. I don't even know if I have a talent for this or not. You know, that was irrelevant.
That's what I was going to ask you. How much of it is mindset and how much of it is talent?
90-10.
90 mindset? 90
mindset, 10 talent. Because in
you
my
think that's
opinion,
the case of everything?
The mindset is the talent.
Yeah.
Because you could be strong, fast. Yeah, people have different physical strengths. But if you don't have the mindset, how many dudes do we know, just who we grew up with, who were unreal gifted skateboarders, but their mind was shit, and they don't, nothing.
Yeah,
that's true. So their physical gifts were great, but their mind was shit.
So you take mindset over
all day long.
And it's interesting because a lot of times when you think of you skateboarding, you think of a naturally talented skateboarder. You fit on the board, but the part that I keep coming back to is that you put in so much repetition and so much development.
Do you remember we got in this huge argument about talent one day?
That was more recent.
Yeah, it was at your house.
Yeah.
With this huge argument about talent. Because like Conor McGregor said there's no such thing as talent, right? that what it came from?
Yeah, but I agree with that. I understand what he's saying.
Because I agree with you. I think that it's 80 or 90% mindset.
The talent isn't in your
agree.
arms or legs
No,
or
but
body.
but I believe in God-given talent. I think some people just have a gift to do something more than others do.
No doubt about it.
But I agree with the mindset. Talent is nothing without the right mindset. Right.
So that leads that very statement leads me to believe that actually the talent is the mindset. Fuck yeah, people have God-given physical ability gifts, especially when it comes to sports. But like I just said, how many dudes do we know that had God-given gifts that didn't fucking even that their boat sank before it left the harbor?
Yep.
Yeah, I hear you.
So-
I hear you, but there still
men-
is a talent,
So
right?
but the talent is the state of mind. The talent is.
I think the talent
the
is
mind.
part of. I think that the mindset is a talent, but I think that can be learned.
The mindset can totally always be learned and developed. I mean, that's really my biggest focus always. What was I just about to say? Because my whole thing is every interest I ever had as a kid all started the same way. I had no real understanding if I was actually prone to being good at this or that. The dream led me. It was a dream first, and then I became a zombie to the dream. I swear it's no different than how a crack fiend is for crack. Like, crack fiends will jump through any obstacle just to get fucking crack. Seriously.
And that was the repetition part.
And I know that's like a fucked up analogy, but you have to be that fucked up.
Unfortunately,
obsessed.
it's like true. Yeah. I mean, dude,
how many crack fiends, would do damn near anything, risk their life to the fucking limit just to get one hit? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you remember the Chappelle?
Heroin addicts, exactly. Like whatever. Like that's how it felt to me. Like it was do or die, and I don't know why. When I love it, that the dream leads, right? So it wasn't about like, well, do you think statistically a kid my size, weight, height, whatever would be prone to being good at this physical activity, this or that?
Yeah.
That was irrelevant to me. It was just like, I love it, gotta do it, and I just obsessed. So when I would do this repetition stuff, it wasn't from a place of like of forcefulness. It wasn't from a place of like, I gotta do this because I need to be the best for some weird ego thing. It was like, yeah, I knew I wanted to be the best, but I could see it clear as day. I saw Eric Costa. I could see it clear as day. I could see myself there with him. I can see myself standing with him, with Reynolds and everything. And it's crazy because to this day, it's homies. I talk to the boss all the time. He texts me all the time. I talk to Costin all the time. Our kids know each other. It's like crazy.
I actually remember seeing you two when you were like 16 and 14 at a curb going, hey, Atiba, and you didn't know Atiba at the time, or you just met him. You're like, take my photo, like pretending like he was doing that. So
Yeah,
I've seen
every time I would be
the
skating a
envisioning
spot.
throughout the years.
Yeah, if I'm doing a trick, I'm like, in my mind, I'm Tom Penny right now. If I'm practicing my kickflips, I'm Andrew Reynolds. If I was doing nollie crooks, I was Costin. In my mind, this is what I'm seeing in my mind.
I love it.
And so so when I would do these repetition things, it was training more than my body. It was training my mind now that I think about it, because I was in a fantasy land of like, every time I was kickflipping off Albertson's loading dock, I was kickflipping a 20 stair in my mind, like Andrew Reynolds would do it. Or every time I'm frontside flip off the loading dock, I was Tom Penny down Carlsbad, switch frontside flipping it. Like that's how my mind was. So like I would just want to keep reliving that moment. And oh, that felt so good. Let me do it again. Ooh, that felt so good. Let me do it. And it just ended up. Oh, next thing you know, I just did it 50 times, and it worked. So like that's how it was. So for me, I would suggest to anybody out there, really, you got to find that thing that makes you that crazy, that makes you that obsessed, to where you're doing this so-called work or physical exertion or whatever the type of exertion it is, but it doesn't feel like it. It's like it feels more like you're compelled. You have to do it from a deeper sense of like somebody telling you it has to be done. You know what I mean?
So I think about this all the time, actually, and I that's me. I relate to that 100%.
Of course.
But
I see that.
But like, how many? Like, is that something that like is just like you're born with that, or like, do you think somebody can learn that?
That's where I don't know. I think someone definitely can learn that, and I think every human
learn how to become obsessed.
Yeah, because
like there's something about us, right?
Right.
That when we do things, it just consumes our everything, right? But it's been like that since I was a kid. It's not something I learned. It just I was born with
For sure.
it, right? So
that's
can
where
you
I'm
like
not fully clear on the answer. I do think it can be learned. I do think, but in order to be inclined to want to learn that you might want to have to already be, I don't know the answer, but I do know that these brains that we have are crazy advanced, and we don't even know how powerful they are, and they're really untapped. So, and I think every human being has a different timeline. We're very lucky we found ours at the age we found it, because if we'd have fallen in love with skateboarding 10 years later, we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
Yeah.
You know, if we'd have fallen in love with skateboarding 10, 15 years later, the physical timeline wouldn't have allowed us to make it happen. We happen to find it at super early age when our bodies were young and strong and can develop into grown men, and now we're developed. But you know, some guy might not find his passion until he's 40, 50 years old.
Yeah.
Henry Ford.
Yeah.
He didn't realize he wanted to, you know, mass produce
Yeah,
the
he
first
was-
motor vehicle
yeah.
until his 40s.
Yeah.
You know, he went through decades of like up and down. Like, am I ever going to become him? Am I ever going to do anything in my life? Am I ever going to succeed? You don't know. And then this one thing, I guess you just have to tune your mind, right? Like kind of how we're tuned with skate spots. We can be driving down the road. There could be a set of stairs over here. You're so trained as a skater that you just, boom, you see, oh, spot. Yo, mark the pin down, mark the pin, or some, you know, like take a picture of the spot, but whatever. Because we're trained to see life that way now.
Yeah.
So if you just train yourself to be aware for opportunity, to be aware for a passion or something that lights your fire, even if you don't have that fire right now and you feel like, oh, there's nothing that really gets me that excited, well, then start making note. For your first step to success is, all right, every single day, no matter where I'm at, I'm watching TV or sitting on the couch, it can happen at any moment, from any time. The inspiration can at any time. I'm going to be on the lookout for something that lights my fire. Step one. Because once you find that, and then your fire, the pilot light is lit, game over. No stopping you. That's my thought.
I agree. I totally agree.
Thank you.
So I want to kind of touch on something that
I'm
like,
hitting the
doesn't
table more, I'm
necessarily
sorry.
like
It's all good. Don't worry.
this doesn't necessarily like apply to entrepreneurs, but how is your investing, the things you invest in, the way you invest, how has that changed over the years? Because I just know from an early age of some of the stuff you invest in is wild, and now it seems a lot more sophisticated in a sense.
It is because...
What was the first thing you invested into?
First, everything I put money was Marquesa wallet.
Marquesa.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a little wallet company.
Is that still around?
It is actually still around. I don't really know much what's going on. I haven't talked to Jason in a while. But it is around. I don't know. It's obviously, you know, not humongous or anything, because obviously I would know. But, you know, I look at...
What are some of the things you're investing in now?
Well, Primitive.
You're investing
The
in
Helm. The
that's
Helm
right.
is a workout fitness
That's another company.
piece of device that myself and Heath Brinkley and Bo Daniels, you know,
Yep.
actually we invented it, patented it, designed it, made it, and
Look, we
now
should've-
just actually are going into a really cool deal that is I'm stoked about. So I got the Helm. It's a workout device, helmfitness.com. And then I stumbled into the family business. I own 40 acres of lemons that is just getting going this year. We just harvested our first 2 picks over the last 4 months, so that's kind of exciting. I said Primitive already?
Mhm.
Okay.
You're investing in the storage units that I'm investing in.
I am, yeah. The storage units. I have no involvement with that at all operationally. I just get the quarterly
Yeah,
statements
passive
that
income.
we get. Yeah.
Yeah.
I invest, you know, I got my financial planner who keeps me invested on like my safer stuff to secure the future. I'm missing something.
Villager.
Oh, Villager, obviously. Villager Goods, coming off the success of St. Archer.
Josh would
Which you
Josh
invested
would've
in.
killed you.
Yeah.
if you-
Westerly coffee that we're gonna
Oh,
launch.
yeah.
It's a very small investment, just a very small project that me and a couple friends are doing. But yeah, just a little coffee. We partnered up with these folks up north called Verve Coffee,
Mhm.
and partnered up with them.
Do you actively go and look for investments, or do you kind of just let them come to you and then kind of make that decision as you see it? Or
Let them. I let them come to me because, as you know, ever since St. Archer happened, everybody under the sun came to us after that. Like, you want to invest in this and this and this. Now you
how
can't
often?
stop it.
How
Now
often
it's
do you
too
get hit
much.
up?
It's slowed down a lot, but still pretty often.
Yeah.
But right now, my biggest problem is not investing. Like right now, I put myself, except with your thing, because things keep coming up. I put myself, seriously though, like you got.
Yeah, well, dude, it's hard. I know this. Like,
It's a good problem to have. It's like
It's
you
like
want
all-
to be invested because you want to like do smart with your money. But if you invest all of your liquid cash flow, then you can't even pay your expenses, and it's weird because you're like, I got all this money, but it's tied up, but yet I can't go buy groceries. Like that's what I'm trying
You're
to
like
do.
the
It's tying all
Bitcoin
my
billionaire.
Yeah, tying all my assets up. All my cash up. You know?
Yeah, I do.
So let's talk about your social media.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, how do you run your social media? Do you do most of the posting? Do you have anybody that does it for you? Talk about how that happens.
My social media team is actually out there skating right now. John Hyland and Glenn Hyland, they're out there right now skating. Those are my masterminds. Heath Moe is the conductor, and he brought John and Glenn Hyland in. He knew them from back home in Tennessee, and brought them in to manage all my stuff.
Mikey's smiling. I don't know what he's smiling about.
I don't know.
There's a part of this story. there was another company called Social Ops.
Yeah, that's what that's what he started with them.
Yeah, and then Heath pulled them. I was part of that.
Yeah,
And then Heath pulled them out of Social Ops and brought them
to Primitive.
Yeah, so
And we
Paul's
closed
just
the
jamming my
operation.
shit
Dipped
up
on you
left
again.
and right.
I didn't jam that one up. That was Heath.
It's
That was
Heath,
Heath.
man. Heath, dude, blowing my Etnies deal, blowing Social Ops.
Yeah.
We'll
We'll have to have Heath on.
Oh, you
Heath's
do.
coming up. We gonna let him have it.
Let him have it. So to be honest with you, social media, that's all Heath. I probably would have eventually jumped on the bandwagon, but like Heath got me in Instagram like from the get go, like once it was starting going, and he was, I'm telling you, you got to do this.
Do you
This is
remember
great
when we did it
marketing."
for the first time?
My first post was like at 2011 at my old park.
Yeah, I thought we set him up in Spain when we were on that trip.
Oh, you set up your Instagrams?
Me,
Oh,
Paul, and
no.
Heath went to Spain. That was when I set mine up and
Maybe.
shot my first photo and like some
It's a little fuzzy. to
somewhere
me.
right by Machba.
Oh, I think back then you were posting a lot on Facebook.
I was doing
because
Facebook and Twitter, and I
had a
turned
big
it-
organic
Because I didn't
reach.
even have a Facebook at this point either when Heath came. Because anybody who knows me, to this day, I don't own a computer. I don't own a laptop. The ones
Paul's
that are
not
in my
very
house,
technical
Rachel
savvy.
uses them. I'm not a tech guy at all. I got my phone and that's it. Like it just. That's another thing about me is if I have no interest in it, I have no interest.
You
in
let
it.
other
I
people
will
do
not
it.
get out of bed for it at all. I don't care how important it is. Ask Michelle, who works at Wasserman. She keeps my schedule. Or any of my sponsors try to get me to answer email. See how that goes.
So we were talking about your social team. You have
Yes.
a team in place that handles it for you.
Yes. I mean, I shoot the content, and like especially with Instagram these days, I'll most of my Instagram posts, especially if they're just skate stuff, I just put it up myself. But a lot of stuff is primitive stuff, related stuff. They'll throw it up on a schedule because I might. And sometimes I just go dark. Sometimes I go a week or two and I won't post anything, and they'll just be like, they'll throw something up for me just to like get something going, because sometimes I'll just
So one
go
of the
dark.
questions that, or one of the things that
Very
stood out in the
important.
pre-interview was you talked about primitive and deciding what you wanted to do. You were saying you were doing a lot of different things, and then you focused down on the things you were good at.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I mean, I learned over the years that just as important as knowing what you are good at, it's equally as important to know what you are not good at. Actually, probably more important to know what you're not good
I
at.
would say that too.
Because just because you think you're a hot shot in one category doesn't mean you have the golden touch for everything in life. And I see a lot of people make that mistake. And plus with me, I'm lucky because there's a lot of things I just don't have an interest in at all. And if I don't have an interest, I don't have an interest at all. And I don't give a fuck at all. So, I've been very fortunate to like understand that you need a team. Like championship rings don't get won without team.
Yeah.
You got to have a team. Everybody's got to play their position and play their position to the best possible,
And what were
to
some
the
of the
best capacity they have.
specifics? Like, what were you not good at? If you don't mind
If it
saying.
doesn't involve riding my skateboard, I'm pretty much not good at. I'm a physical guy.
That's not true. But
Come
no,
on,
I'm
dude, that's
no,
not true,
I'm a
dude.
physical guy. Like
Gotcha.
physically doing actions that's where I excel. If you talk about anything like intellectually or, doing something like, dude, I have, like, for instance, this is how fucked up my brain is. I don't know why. Like, online shopping is the thing people do now, right?
Yeah.
It's a nightmare for me. I fuck up everything. I order like 2 to 3 things, end up in the shopping cart. I'm like, no, I just wanted one of those, but I got 5 of them. And I'm just like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm just getting in the car. I'm going to the store and I'm buying it. Like, it's way less trouble for me to get in the car, physically go there and do it and come home.
Paul's like the guy who ends up with like a $10,000 bill from Alexa, just like talking. Alexa turns on. They order like
dude,
a cryo chamber.
Yeah. And it's like,
You order a cryo chamber?
It's weird. Like, to get me to like respond to a text is a nightmare. Most of the time, if it doesn't require, especially email text, if it requires more than a 1 to 5 word response, then I'm just gonna call you. Like, bro, like, hey, I can't listen. I just read your text. Here's what it is. Blah 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 blah. Like, I talk way faster than I type, and when I type, I'm brain dead because I'm typing, and if anything distracts me, I screw my whole train of thought up. Now I don't remember what I was doing. It's just not good. So basically, anything that's not a physical thing is not my
Is that the draw
wheelhouse.
to acting? You mentioned being interested. What's the level of interest
Huge.
in acting?
I love it. I love it. I love it. It's my next dream. It's my next phase of my life. Skateboarding still has my heart, and my body is still in good shape to where I can skate good. So I'm gonna do that till the wheels fall off, regardless. But acting it's lighting that fire that I was talking about earlier, and I've been around it my whole life. Like I told you, I my father, when I was born, was just hitting his stride in his career, doing movies, comedy, everything. He was doing everything. He had talk shows, everything.
Yeah.
So like I've been around it my whole life, been on TV and movie sets my whole life. So this is just something that was always very intoxicating to me, and I always imagined myself doing that. And so this last year, I'd been talking about it for years. Like, one day I'm gonna do it. One day I'm gonna do it. And I just wanted to stop being that one day guy and today's the day guy. Become today's the day guy. And so I found a reputable acting place. Actually, that's a lie. I actually enrolled into this acting studio I'm in now 5 years ago. I went for 3 months and faded out.
This is when you were doing with Omar.
Yeah. I went there 5 years ago for about 3 months. I was super into it, but then it just steamed out. And 5 years ago, I still had so much more in my skate career that I needed. That it was just too much on my mind, skateboard-wise.
Yeah.
So I reached a place this past year where I'm in a real grateful phase in skateboarding, where like I still love it. I plan on doing it to the best of my abilities and improving and getting better as best as I can. But I'm really thankful. I've accomplished everything I set out to accomplish, and then some. I'm very happy with my contribution to skateboarding. I'm very happy with all the experiences I've had through skateboarding. But I feel like I just realized all those years I thought skateboarding was the end-all, be-all for me. But as I got older, I just realized, no, skateboarding was like college for me. I never went to college, I never went to anything, but I learned so much about culture through traveling through skateboarding, so much about business through the business opportunities in skateboarding, so much about life through skateboarding, that I realized that I got a better education than somebody paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to Harvard or Ivy League. I got a better education through skateboarding and my skateboarding career. So if I'm just finally like the cake has been baking in the oven, and now that it's like ready, like the bread has risen finally, that's not the time to cut it off. That's the time to like take that information and continue to pursue it. So this last year, I had been talking about it for years that I want to act. And, since back when I did Street Dreams, I wasn't studying acting then, but I knew I wanted to do it at some point, but skateboarding had my heart. So this last year, I really decided, I realized, I love Street League. I love doing competitions. I love that rush I get from it, but it's kind of not as strong as it was. I'm pretty happy with the things I've been able to accomplish in that realm and even street skating. I just realized the fire was something inside me was what's next, bro? You need to start the next chapter, the next phase of life, because here you are in your early 30s, like the pinnacle of your life happened in your first bit of your life, and that's it. The rest, God willing, I live to 100. So the next 70-something years, I'm just nothing
afterwards.
That's it. Like you peaked. So so I don't know. I said, fuck it, man. I'm gonna go enroll back into the acting studio. I went back in there last year in January, so I've been in acting classes now a year, and every class I go to, I fall more and more in love with it. I go to, like, you get assigned one class a week, but if you're a member of the studio, you can go to any class. So I find myself going 3-4 times a week just to other classes and sit in and watch these awesome actors, watch these people, talented people, and like getting a chance to physically rehearse and do scenes with them. I ended up getting a manager and an agent, and now I'm doing 3 to 4 auditions a week, and I'm just on the run. I'm out actively
3 to 4 auditions a week.
Yeah, I'm actively pursuing it.
So you're doing Albertsons
with acting,
metaphorically with acting. You're actively pursuing and learning and growing your craft.
And this is not me saying I'm good at it. By no means. Right now in acting, I'm the equivalent of skating a curb. I'm just learning how to do tricks on a curb.
You think so?
Yeah, in acting, I'm just learning little tricks on a curb, and I'm happy with the little progress I'm making. I booked one role out of all the auditions I've gone. I booked one role in a real movie, like Miramax film will be out like September. I play a cop, but I got a scene with the main actress. I got like 10 lines that I filmed. Hopefully they leave all 10 in the movie and they don't get edited out or whatever. But I got a full scene with the main actress, and so that was enough for me to it was like getting my first clip in a 411. Like it was enough for me.
Fascinating listening to Paul talk about I got a scene.
I did.
It's with the main actress because we're so used to you being the king.
Yeah, and it's so cool because in acting studio up until very recently it finally got out, but I really loved it. Nobody knew who the hell I was. Nobody knew nothing about me, and I could just go in there and it was just.
So no one knew you were a skateboarder, and they just thought you were some random guy that came in.
I didn't want to talk about it. Nothing. I just came in just like everybody else. I'm a beginning student, and I'm just here to learn. Just like and one person called me out after a few classes, like, "Hey man." I'm like, all right, cool, man. Appreciate that. Thank you, but let's
keep that on the down low, right?
Because I didn't want that to take away. Because
totally,
if you already know about like, for instance, my good friend, and you all know him, Mr. Jeremy Rogers. We all know how wacky of a guy he is. He's an awesome character, right? But he was a phenomenal skateboarder. No one can argue that. Great skateboarder. And all of a sudden, one day, he hit everybody with, I want to become a rapper now. And then you have the stigma already in there about but you're a skateboarder. He's going to be a whack rapper. You already have programmed in your mind. Before you even gave him a shot, you've already told yourself, he's going to be whack. A lot of people do that to him. So in my mind with the acting thing, hold on. But in my mind with the acting thing, going into class, I didn't want to come in here I'm accomplished in this other world. First of all, the skills have nothing to do with each other. They're two different things, so I don't know why that would gain me any clout. And second of all, I didn't want anyone to think or look at me like, oh, this hotshot thinks he can come over here and just be a hotshot. I just wanted to be a blank slate. I just wanted to come in here, work like everybody else, and just show what I can do. And
are you as infatuated with acting?
To stand out because of that, now you're looking at me, oh, he happens to be working hard and developing a skill. And then you find out, oh, but he's also this. Then it's cool. Then it's like, oh, but I only knew you as the actor, Paul. I didn't know you as the skateboarder.
Yeah.
Wouldn't even have guessed it.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's kind of like the vibe.
So it sounds like you're pretty passionate about it.
A trillion, zillion %.
Love it.
I love it, and I really intend on doing it, and I really hope to become a accomplished, just what I am in skateboarding. I would love to become that in that world.
Dude, it was like hearing you as a kid skating when you're like, I gotta roll with actors. I was like, that's pretty awesome, man. Okay.
Yeah, it was
what
like getting my first clip in a video.
What's your time frame on this?
With acting?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a time frame. It's like.
That's a part of him and I.
Here's
what so different.
No. I mean, I have my goals. This year,
I'm more like you, Paul. Just so you know, I'm more like you.
Well, I do and don't have a time frame. But the thing cool about acting is look at Robert De Niro. The guy's damn near touching 80.
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman. This is something that I could do forever and constantly challenge myself to get better and better and better. So I'm not putting a timeline like if I'm not, an A-list celebrity by 5 years from now, I failed and I gotta quit. Because I know through skateboarding that I'm skateboarding 22 years now, just hit my 21st birthday in skateboarding. So my skateboarding's old enough to drink now. But look how long and time it took me to get to this. But it didn't feel long because every step of the way was just like, I loved every step.
Yeah,
of the
I didn't
way.
mean it like that point. I meant like when does it become all in on acting for you?
Well, that's the
Not
beauty
like
of
when
it.
are you going to be successful?
I
Like
am
when are
all
you
in.
going full
I am
in?
all in, and I know you think it's different because you see me still out here.
No, it's just
doing
like
my skate
look.
thing.
The reason I say this, right, is like, you know, I have this conversation with Paul like 3 months ago, and he's like, dude, I'm in acting. This is what I'm doing. Just got done with this role. I'm in 4 days a week, and then I see for the next 3 weeks him doing like the most insane tricks on Instagram skating, and I'm like, damn,
Which
dude.
recently he has been doing
You've been going
insane
off,
tricks.
so I'm
in
just like,
skateboarding.
yo, what is it, bro? You're like killing it skating.
Yeah, it's a
But,
good,
like, you're all in on acting?
almost
I'm
like
like,
there
I'm
was a
lost.
surge of you skating.
Like you almost
recently.
got better.
yeah, it's a weird side effect that I didn't know was gonna happen. So like probably about 5-6 months ago, I went about 3 or 4 months where like I barely skated at all, and it was just I would go to class every single day, work on scenes at home, go to class every single day, but. And I didn't miss skateboarding. That's what scared me. I didn't miss riding my skateboard. I didn't have the urge. It was the first time in 20 years this ever happened to me. Didn't have the urge. And then we got to Christmas break that just passed. When my daughter got out for school, Christmas break, all the schools closed. I was like, all right, well, it's Christmas break. It's like a little mini summer. I've definitely been slacking on the skating. Let me get out in the streets since it's a little summer. And the acting studio went on break too for Christmas holiday break, so I couldn't go to class.
And the reason I brought that up is because it was at 4 months, like he wasn't really skating. I was
Yeah.
like, Paul's done with it, man.
Yeah, and so when I couldn't go to class because class was, they were off on a holiday break. So I would just hopped in the car with the guys, would go out skating with the guys, would go skate new spots. And I realized I had zero expectation for myself. I had zero pressure on, like, I want to get a clip. Didn't give a shit about getting a clip. Didn't give a shit what we were skating, whatever. We get to a spot. I remember it was this spot in L.A. It's already a bus now, these little ledges on the second floor by the fence. Went there, and they were just the coolest, funnest ledges. And I just started skating, doing tricks. And all of a sudden, Mike has the camera out. I didn't ask him to get the camera out, and he just is filming everything. And we go home, and I got like 4 lines. I was like, oh, let's put an Instagram edit up. Like, it's been a while, and it got love. And then we would just go skating every day during the holiday break, and it just kept happening. I wasn't trying to like, oh, I got to do it again, It was just like, oh, it happened again. We got another edit and getting a good response. And then, I'll have other like pro skateboarders text me like, bro, dude, you're killing it. I'll be like, wow, damn, cool. Like this
You
guy's
get Andrew Reynolds text, like, damn.
yeah,
that's
you
cool.
get a boss text and you're like, whoa, or like, and so I'm just like, wow, this is crazy because but I realize it's because it's so free and no pressure. I'm not skating contests, so I'm not practicing the same 10 to 15 tricks every day, trying to get them wired to take them to perform them at the contest. It's just, I don't know, there's a new spot. Maybe I tinker with this idea of a trick. If I land it, I land. If I don't, I don't. And this freedom kind of really.
It sounds like the law of detachment.
Yeah.
You just kind of let go, and it just started happening, and you just
let
started
go and
firing.
let God. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. And so.
Let go and let God?
Yeah. You never heard that?
That's like Jesus take the wheel
yeah,
or something?
exactly.
Okay.
And so,
Mikey's up on his country.
And so-
All right.
and so that's kind of what's been going on with the skating. But the beauty of it is they don't conflict because, like I could be as sore and tired as I want. I could still act. I
Yep.
can still study acting. I
Yep.
can still read a script. I can still go to class. I can still do that. And if I'm super sore and I want to take a day off skating, that's what I do. I go act. Or I go to acting class and I skate right after because it's close by
Yep.
Stoner Park. So I go skate there. So like it just kind of works. And I'm not going to contests, so I'm not preoccupied with, okay, I got to really program my routine every day into my body. It's just like, hey, man, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm all in, though.
Yeah.
I am
All right.
all in.
So give us, for people that haven't already found you, where can they find you? Just at P-Rod, is it P-Rod84?
Yeah, at PRod84 on Instagram. I think it's the same for Facebook.
And then,
Or just Paul
Facebook, you don't really
Rodriguez?
use your handle anymore.
Or
Mikey's
Instagram's
dude, I'm with you, Paul.
Look,
You don't really
am not
use
good
your
at this.
Facebook handle. But
I'm surprised you
YouTube, it's just Paul Rodriguez, and then Primitive, is it
I think
at
it's
Primitive
P-Rod
Skate?
Vids.
Oh,
on
P-Rod
YouTube, I
Vids.
think.
You
See?
two
Yeah, I
are
know my stuff.
insane, man. Trying to figure out what Paul's social
But yeah, man,
handles are right now.
Yeah, you can find me there. Yeah.
This is kind of just what we do at the end of the interview.
No, I
Anything
like
else you
it.
want to plug at Primitive? Or is it Primitive
What do you want to
Skateboards?
plug, man? Plug it up.
plug, man, at Primitive Skate.
We're going to blow you
Villager
up in acting
Water.
school. Just kidding. Keep
Dropping
going.
soon at Villager Goods.
The Villager Water.
Yeah. Shout out to all my teachers at the Spicer Sturgis Acting Studio.
There we go. All right.
And I don't know, man. I got a real love for life, and I just want to live life humongous, and whatever that means. And I have this vision in my mind, and I'm just gonna work towards that vision until I'm dead. And if it comes true, awesome. If it doesn't, whatever. I had a lot of fun during the process, and that's what I'm on right now.
Awesome. All right, Paul. Well, thank you. It was good to see you fired up, man. I feel
Thanks,
like we
Bork.
got a lot of good insight here.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And let's really quickly before we go, if you're listening or watching on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to our podcast on iTunes. You can listen to these episodes for more amazing people like Paul and Mikey. You can listen to them on the podcast on the Go audio version. And also, if you like what you're seeing, reviews are greatly, greatly appreciated. Leave us a review, what you thought of the episode. And thank you so much, Paul, for coming on.
Thank you, Eric Bork. I love you.
I love you too, man. All right.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
All right.